Hello, welcome to summer Sweden. It is warm outside, let me tell you that. After this winter I am not complaining. I am welcoming the warmth with arms wide open. Hey, welcome to the Moose Lady Academy. Today we are having a part 2 to something very exciting. It is, really need to glue this whiteboard together. See if you can see. Can you tell that I went to art school? We're talking about Viking Bodymods again, part 2. Let's go! A little disclaimer, if you come to this video and you are searching for information about Vikings and tattooing, you are in the wrong place. It is, as a matter of fact, in part 1 that we discuss Vikings and tattoos. Go to part 1 if you want to hear more about that. Viking and Bodymods. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Before we go on to a completely different type of body modification, let's go over some exciting news. I've done about the Christian Vikings in Varnhem, and I've done a video about the body mod, which is the teeth filing that Vikings, mainly in Sweden, did. So, what is the news then? Well, these worlds, they have collided and met. The University of Gothenburg in Sweden, they conducted at the end of 2023 a new study about the teeth health of the Vikings. So they brought in Vikings from Varnhem. So they looked at 171 individual set of teeth. So that's 3,293 teeth in total. And like, besides finding medical information, you know, that is very exciting to find, so they stumbled upon that these Christian Vikings indeed also, some of them had filed front teeth. It's so cool because they studied these teeth with modern tools that they got lended to them by the dentist professionals. I love when experts from different fields come together in order to create greatness in the name of science. That is my little news update, and that also again shows that these filed teeth probably had more to do with culture than religion, because they have found this body modification on people who have had a Christian burial but as well as a heathen burial. But one pattern is still consistent, and that is that the filed teeth were something that men has done or had. I picked up this little babe, the Vikings Grim Grin. It is available in English and in Swedish. And it is made by Caroline Ahlström Arsini, and she is one of the osteologists that have been researching these teeth. So it's absolutely lovely book. It's a tale about a little boy named Torbjörn who lives on Gotland during the Viking Age, and it has its origin in the research that she has made about these teeth, but it is of course a fictional work as well, so but super good, recommend it a lot. Now we will travel in time, you, me and Oskar, and we will go to Gotland. And if you are not informed, Gotland is a small island outside of Sweden. Gotland actually contains one of the 3 different main categories of dialects in Old Norse. So we have Western Old Norse and we have Eastern Old Norse, but then we also have Old Gutnish, which is the Gotland variation of Old Norse. And most of the picture stones in Sweden, picture stones are completely iconic. They come from Gotland as well. The oldest depiction of a Nordic sailing boat sail stitches come from there, as well as the Snake Witch or the Snake Woman stone, together with many other depictions that is completely insanely interesting. And there's also a lot of these filed front teeth that has been found there on Gotland in burial sites. And like, Gotland within itself is such an interesting place in any time actually. While we're talking about Gotland, actually, this is a side note, Gotland actually is one of the bases of one of my few phobias in this life, and that is seeing medieval skeletons from the Battle of Visby. Whew. Those skeletons are gruesome. They are made of what horrible nightmares are made of, and they have kept me up at night after I've view them on museums. Then you know a little bit more about me and about Gotland. We will drop the filed teeth for now a little bit, and we will focus on another type of body modification, but it has to do with skeletons. We will talk about the curious case of the elongated skulls that has been found on Gotland. So here we have kind of how a skull on Gotland would look from this example. And here is a normal skull, an unmodified skull. Let me give you the background. This time it is the lady's turn to have a specific body model, at least here in this example. So recently 2 German scientists have studied 3 female skeletons that were buried on Gotland during the Iron Age. And all of these 3 women, they had elongated skulls. These scientists, they want to know, and I personally also want to know, why? So, how come that their skulls looked like this? And let me tell you something going into this. This is not a birth defect, so we can rule that out right here and now. So these women, they were found on 3 different grave sites around Gotland, where the latest find was made in the 1930s. The first one was found in the south of the island of Gotland in 1886. Archaeologists have been able to find out the approximate age of 2 of these 3 women. One of them was around 25 to 30 years old when she died, and the other woman, she was older, she was about 55 to 60 years old when she died. And this is a very unique find in Sweden, in the Nordics even. This is the only find of this type in the Nordic countries at all. This practice is something that is more common around the area surrounding the Black Sea. So Bulgaria, for example, is a place where there has been finds of this cultural expression. They have also been found in Bavaria, which is a state in the southeast of Germany. What's curious is that these skulls that was found in Bavaria also have origins around the Black Sea, and specifically Bulgaria and Romania and the surrounding area around the Black Sea. And from Bavaria there has been around a dozen finds of these women with elongated skulls. These women with these elongated skulls, they are believed to have been some sort of arranged brides, you know, to make bigger and better connections and networking with your surrounding areas, and also make alliances. Many of the skulls that have been found in Bavaria, they have also made some testing on them. They are not genetically coded in the same kind of way as the farmsteads where they have been found, so they have been foreigners. The skulls in Bavaria, they are dated around the year 500 AD, so the earlier part of the Scandinavian Iron Age. The oldest runestones in Sweden, for example, they are from around the same era. And the women in Gotland, they are from 1000 AD, so there's a gap about 500 years from the skulls in Bavaria to the skulls found on Gotland. These type of elongated skulls, they have been found in medieval Europe, and they have also been found in medieval Asia. They have also been found in South America. One example is people from the Paracas culture. That is a famous example when you bring up elongated skulls. Artificial cranial So artificial cranial deformation. That's what we're dealing with here. ACDC. And I know I said this is not a genetical thing, but some scientists have still argued like, couldn't this be a genetical thing? You know, the deformation. These skulls, they are pretty long. Like, they are long enough. It's just not a little dent or a little bump here and there. They're pretty long. And it is, it would be quite the coincidence if dozen women with the same kind of genetical setup, which is different from where they have been found, they just happen to all of them have elongated skulls without being, you know, directly related to each other, and they show up there around the same time. That would be quite the coincidence. And in the case of the Gotland women, they were not even from the same geographical area, let alone they were not related. And yeah, it would be very curious if these dozen of women showing up in Bavaria, that they've just shown up there and they've never had any children of their own that would fit the genetical code that also would have this genetical birth defect, then it doesn't make sense. To me, my personal opinion, it doesn't make sense that it would be a genetical feature. But now back to Gotland. This is the only find in the northern countries and in Scandinavia of modified skull elongation, artificial cranial deformation. You indeed believe that this was modified with intent. They stand out so much in the cultural context of Scandinavia and of Gotland during these times. Again, we have only found 3 of them. To make this type of modification, you would have to wrap the head of an infant, so a child underneath the age of 3, while the skull is still soft. So that would happen earlier in their childhood for it to turn out like this, elongated. The question at hand is still why. So we can go back to Bavaria, because that's a very good example to talk about in the context of all of this. There is the whole alliances, arranged marriages. Maybe that's up on the table for these Gotland ladies. Maybe these women were also from the area around the Black Sea, as in Bavaria. Even though these women are not from the same era, so they are not from the 500s AD, they are from the 1000s AD. But still, culture is culture. Maybe it has just, continued to exist around the Black Sea. In the example of one of these women, she is born on Gotland. They have been able to trace her genetical lineage, and she has grown up on Gotland. And another one of these 3 women, she is from the Baltics, so Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. She is also not from the surrounding area of the Black Sea. So these people have genealogy that is consistent with the area where they have been found. And the 3rd woman then, from my understanding, these tests have come back a bit inconclusive. She's also not thought to be from the area surrounding the Black Sea. But since we don't have that information published, she might as well be. Then we can start speculating, right? Like, were these women from a family that had cultural connections to that area maybe? Are they do their families come from a place where this cultural practice were still in use? Did they all 3 of these women just happen to find themselves on the tiny island of Gotland specifically and nowhere else in the whole Scandinavia? Again, coincidences, right? These type of elongated skulls has also not been found in the Baltics. That is also not a common practice in the Baltic countries. So Gotland is such a merchant hub, is such an important merchant place during the whole Iron Age. So could it be so that these women, maybe they have been wives or daughters of merchants that have been traveling around the area of the Black Sea, and maybe they lived there during the earliest part of their childhoods, and maybe that is where they had it done. Maybe they wanted to blend in with the culture that they were residing in as a sign of respect, maybe as a sign of, alliances again, but in another type of way than an arranged marriage would do. And then that they have moved from there back to the island again. I'm driving myself mad reading these articles, trying to understand, trying to see a pattern. I'm trying to figure this whole out, because genetically they are from Gotland and the Baltics, which is also, Gotland is in the Baltic Sea. The island of Saaremaa in Estonia is not too far away from Gotland. It is very easy, traveling. And they have found connections between Saaremaa in Estonia and Gotland. Just as with the teeth filing, it must have been about sending some kind of bodily signal to communicate through your body. But what it said and what it signified, we have no idea. Maybe it said hey, I am part of this influential merchant family and I have traveled, and or maybe these women were married with husbands from this area, and that was an arranged thing since they were small, and maybe it was some kind of arranged marriage, but not in the same way as with the Bavarian situation. Who knows, maybe it was even an extreme form of a fashion trend that we have yet to see or figure out. Maybe we will get more answers as time goes on. So the leading expert on these body mods, Matthias Toplak, he is not under the impression that these body mods have been made, like that they have been done at Gotland. He thinks that these have been made somewhere where this practice is more usual. And then again, we go back to the area around the Black Sea, somewhere there, or even Asia. He thinks that it is rather done in a place and in a context that makes sense, where it was considered more of a standard procedure, because I would believe that wrapping the head of an infant is not something you do if you have never done something like that before, and if it's not a standard practice within your culture, because like the brain is a bit scary thing to just be meddling around with. So maybe these girls have been a part of a culture that they themselves lack the genealogy for, but they have been part of a cultural context where it has made sense for them to have this done in early childhood and then travel back to their origins, which is Gotland or the Baltic Sea. And what further underlines that these women do not come, besides their whole genealogy and their whole DNA set and everything, besides that, these women have not been buried in an untraditional manner at all. They have been buried just as any other women with the same status, of course, as they have, but they have been buried in the same manner as other women of Gotland, so they do not stand out in any way with how they were buried, with burial goods or anything of that sort. This is such an interesting case, and it is such a riddle. Wow! It is as mysterious as the file teeth body mod. There is a pattern, like these are women. There are women that has had this procedure done. But outside of that, it's the same with the file teeth. Men from Scandinavia, mainly Sweden, have had this, and then, you know, this shows you that expressing yourself with the body, it is so tied to culture and the time, and like the context of what's going on is a social context that we have no way of learning as far as we know now. And I'm remaining very hopeful that we might see a clearer pattern to these questions in the future. I want to know what your theories are, like what are your thoughts being awakened by this video and so on. Do you have any theories about what is going on? Why? Thanks for tagging along to yet another body mod adventure with me and Oskar over here. He's amazed. He has a long face, he doesn't have a long skull, really. If anything, he's a bit flat here. He's the opposite of these ladies on Gotland. But thank you for listening, I'll see you in the next one. Hej då!